Long before Europeans arrived in North America, an enormous city was already thriving near what is now St. Louis. At its peak, Cahokia was home to thousands of people and covered an area larger than many European cities of the same period. And at the center of it all stood something extraordinary: giant earthen pyramids. Today, the remains of this ancient city can still be found in Illinois, just across the Mississippi River from St. Louis. Cahokia began to grow rapidly around the year 1000. Within a relatively short period of time, it became the largest urban center north of Mexico in pre-Columbian North America. The people who lived there built houses, public spaces, ceremonial areas, and enormous artificial mounds, using little more than earth carried by hand. More than 100 mounds were originally constructed across the city. Some served as burial sites. Others were probably used for ceremonies or as foundations for important buildings. But one of them was on a completely different scale. Today, it is known as Monk's Mound. It rises about 100 feet above the surrounding landscape and covers roughly 14 acres at its base. It is the largest prehistoric earthen structure in the Americas north of Mexico, and it was built without modern machinery. Workers had to dig up soil, carry it in baskets, and gradually construct the enormous mound layer by layer. Researchers estimate that millions of cubic feet of earth were needed to create it. At the top of Monk's Mound probably stood a large building associated with Cahokia's leadership. From there, the city's rulers would have looked over a vast central plaza where ceremonies, gatherings, and other public events took place. But Cahokia was not simply a collection of giant mounds. The people who lived there also had a sophisticated understanding of the movement of the sun. Archaeologists discovered the remains of a huge circular arrangement of wooden posts outside the city's central area. Today, it is commonly called Woodhenge. From certain positions within the circle, the rising sun aligned with specific posts at important times of the year, including the solstices and equinoxes. This would have allowed the people of Cahokia to track the seasons, something extremely important for agriculture and ceremonial life. But despite everything archaeologists have discovered, there is a major problem. The people of Cahokia left no known written historical record explaining their city. We do not know what they called Cahokia. We do not know exactly how their political system worked, and many details about their beliefs and daily lives have to be reconstructed from archaeology. Then, after centuries of growth, something changed. By around the 14th century, Cahokia's population had declined dramatically. Eventually, the great city was abandoned. For years, researchers tried to understand why. There probably wasn't a single cause. Environmental changes, pressure on natural resources, social instability, and changes in the surrounding landscape may all have contributed to the decline. Flooding and drought have also been investigated as possible factors. Whatever happened, the enormous population that once gathered around Cahokia's plazas and monuments eventually disappeared from the city. The houses vanished, wooden structures decayed, vegetation covered the landscape, and the enormous earthen monuments slowly began to look like ordinary hills. Centuries later, European settlers arrived in the region without fully understanding what they were looking at. But those hills were not natural. They were the remains of one of the most impressive urban centers ever built in ancient North America. And Cahokia changes the way many people imagine the history of the United States before European colonization. This was not an empty landscape waiting to be settled. Complex indigenous societies had already built major population centers, trade networks, monumental structures, and carefully organized communities across North America. Cahokia is one of the most extraordinary surviving examples. A city of enormous earthen pyramids once stood beside the Mississippi River. Thousands of people lived there. Its builders tracked the movement of the sun, transformed the landscape, and created monuments that are still visible almost 1,000 years later. And yet, we still don't know exactly why their great city was abandoned. Today, Cahokia remains one of the most fascinating archaeological sites in the United States, and one of the clearest reminders that an extraordinary chapter of American history was already being written centuries before the arrival of Europeans. Did you know that a city with giant earthen pyramids once existed in the United States? Tell me in the comments. And if you enjoy archaeological discoveries, lost civilizations, and true stories from history that seem almost impossible, subscribe to the channel. There are still countless mysteries from the past waiting to be uncovered.